Join thousands of businesses that simplified employee management, cut costs in basically half, and got back the time to focus on what matters most. Start your free trial now at connectteam.com.
I kind of just want to do this. Like, I want to just lower that bitch and put me on the top. Something like this.
So apparently some folks on the right have been thoroughly triggered by the segment we did here on the Readout last week, in which a Yale-trained psychologist counseled those who are distraught about the results of the presidential election and frankly frightened over the prospects for their own lives because of it, that they do not owe the people who voted for the very things they're terrified of their time over the holidays.
Bro, I don't know how to get this shit.
There is a push, I think just a societal norm that if somebody is your family, that they are entitled to your time. And I think the answer is absolutely not. So if you are going to a situation where you have family members, where you have close friends who you know have voted in ways that are against you, like what you said, against your livelihood, and it's completely fine to not be around those people and to tell them why.
Cue the people who just 2 weeks ago were screaming, "Let's go, Brandon," and cheering as J.D. Vance called Vice President Harris the trash he was going to take out. Now yelling, "Why can't we all come together?" Really? I seem to recall that when your guy lost the last election, you didn't come together. Your people stormed the Capitol, smashed in windows and rioted, beat up and nearly killed police officers. Smashed in windows and rioted.
Bro, what
beat
the
up and
fuck,
nearly
bro?
killed police officers. Smashed in windows.
Why is the fucking...
Beat up and nearly killed police officers.
Hold on, bro.
Smashed in windows.
Why is the fucking...
Beat up and nearly killed police officers.
Hold on, bro.
Smashed in windows. Beat up and nearly killed police officers.
I'm sorry, my quality is shit right now, but I don't understand. I'm sorry, my quality is shit right now, but I don't understand. My shit, I can't even find it. My shit, it was like a video. Somebody was like, let's do Trump rant. I think it's that. I like to get real controversial. Trump rant. Maybe I'm not getting controversial. I can't find that bitch.
All these journalists are like, "Congresswoman, are you going to the inauguration? Congresswoman, are you going to the inauguration? Are you going to the inauguration?" Let me make myself clear. I don't celebrate rapists.
Oh, I don't even know if
So
I can
no.
play that shit.
I'm not going to the inauguration tomorrow. So what does this mean for us? Well, we are on the eve of an authoritarian administration. This is what 21st century fascism is starting to look like.
Right, people, bro.
Of all the founding results in this past election, perhaps the strangest results, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez is doing something a lot of the D.C. folks aren't doing, which is talking to social media and actually talking to voters to figure out why this happened.
If you voted for Donald Trump and me, or if you voted for Donald Trump and voted Democratic down ballot, I would really love to hear from you. This is not a place of judgment. I'm not gonna like put your stuff on blast or anything like that or dunk on it. That's like genuinely not the intent here. I actually want to learn from you. I want to hear.
See, this is how you really do it, bro. For you idiots out here that, oh, if you voted for Trump, I'm going to cut you off. You're no longer my family member. First of all, you're fucking stupid. Neither party give a fuck about you. If you honest to God think that Kamala Harris gives a fuck about you, you're a fucking idiot. And second of all, you know, I think instead of splitting up, I think we should come together. This woman is right. You come to an understanding of why you voted for what you voted for, not just cut the other person off because they voted for a particular party. That's pretty fucking stupid, pretty idiotic. Of course, everybody has different views, different perspectives of life, but the government doesn't give a fuck about you. I'm sorry to tell you. If you didn't catch on already, the government doesn't care about you. So either if you vote Democratic or Republican, it doesn't matter. But this is how you do it. If you do care about politics, this is how you do it.
What you were thinking, and I just want to hear from you.
Joining me now is the aforementioned Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York. Okay, AOC, what they say?
I mean, there's a lot of different things that we saw. I think there's a lot of people. First of all, it's important to note that Democrats, oftentimes when we lose elections, we think that we lost people to Trump. And that is true in circumstances, but they don't look enough at the fact that we also lost people to the couch. We have two people that we're running against. So a lot of people say, this is why I voted for you and Trump. And some people say this is why I didn't vote or didn't vote top of the ticket.
Right. Skip the top of the ticket, which, by the way, there's been a lot of paranoia about the fact that Democrats were able to win statewide in some places while Kamala Harris lost. And I keep trying to tell people there are voters who go in and either just vote the top, Trump voters who will say, I just want Trump and don't care about Republicans, and the reverse, who say, I'm not voting top of the ticket, but I'll vote everybody else.
Right. And I think we saw some of that happen as well. But when it comes to people who split their ticket, I think a lot of people cited several different things. One is there is universal frustration in this country, much of it I actually think justified, that is raging at a political establishment that centers corporate interests, billionaires, and puts their needs ahead of the needs of working Americans. And we know that we can either channel this righteous rage because there are people whose snap was cut off.
All right, bro, come on.
Kamala Harris is for they, them. Everyone's focusing on that. They're not focusing on the second half of that ad where he said, Donald Trump is for you.
Yeah.
And Democrats very often in their messaging, they speak and in terms and in concepts and not in the second person. I care about you. And political races are not about one candidate versus another candidate. Too often it gets pigeonholed like that. It is a race to convince a person about who cares about you more.
Let me.
On me, bro. So if you cutting off your family or your friends because they voted for Trump, you're an idiot. You're a sheep. That's idiotic, bro. It's like, again, to even think either party gives a fuck about you, you're already a sheep. You're already a sheep. Newsflash, the government don't care about you. But I see people cutting off family and friends because they voted for Trump. That's fucking stupid. You're an idiot. You know, I think instead of just cutting off somebody because they voted for Trump, I think you should come to a better understanding. You're fucking alive. So when you say, "Oh, you're endangering my life and you're going to kill America," no, like shut the fuck up. If you just come to a solution and you just be like, it's just stupid, bro. Like, to cut off somebody because who they voted for is fucking stupid, and that's just, oh my god. Like, no party gives a fuck about you. When are you gonna realize that? When are you gonna realize that? I don't know when you're gonna realize. You're not going to. You're not going to. They benefit off war. I'm pretty sure in the next 5 years there's gonna be a war. War makes money. So I guarantee you
this question,
idiots
because we've been
who are
talking a
cutting
lot
off
about
people
RFK Jr.
because
My
they
mind
voted
is a
for
bit
Trump.
blown. I mean,
Fucking stupid.
we knew that Donald Trump would go wild. There's no constraints on him. He could just put all his friends in. But we're talking about RFK Jr. and the possibility of people pulling back on measles vaccines, on another pandemic happening. You're talking about Matt Gaetz. There's a 17-year-old girl out there terrified that all of her records, all of the witnesses against him in this case where she was trafficked could be in the hands of Matt Gaetz, and he could be the most powerful law enforcement official in the country in a case where the president of the United States is an adjudicated sexual abuser. If you're a sexual assault survivor, you're thinking, oh my God, this country 100%. Is out to get me. They're out to get me and force me to have children by sexual assault. So the message to women has been insane, okay? And the people he's nominating are TV hosts, et cetera. Do you think the people who voted for him that you've talked to were expecting this?
No.
Or true mass deportation?
Genuinely,
yeah.
No. And it's heartbreaking, actually. It is heartbreaking. And people may want to take like a kind of vengeful stance about this, but it is genuinely heartbreaking. People need to understand that there are people, millions of people in this country, and I was one of them, where you are working 2-3 shifts a day to try to make ends meet. You're not reading the newspaper every morning with a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
You're not. And it's not to say that people are uneducated or uninformed or anything like that. But like, this is real life. Yeah. This is real life. You got a baby on your hip and you've got 2-3 shifts to work in that day and you're just trying to make things work and you have such an overwhelm of information. And I actually think something that is different about this moment than I saw, whether it was 2020 or after 2016, is that almost like right the day after, people immediately were coming to me and saying, he's not actually going to do that, right? And it's important to say, people may often say, he said he was going to do this. It was right here on the campaign trail. If you actually listen to him, if you listen to Donald Trump's acceptance speech, when he talked about immigration, he talked about legal pathways first.
Yeah. He didn't say he was going to do.
He didn't lead with mass deportation.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to hold you. We're going to hold you over if you don't mind. We're going to hold for one more. We're going to take a quick break, pay for all of this, and then when we come back, AOC will still be right here with me.
How do you take in information, right? Yeah. And one of the things that they said is that one of their primary trusted sources of information was, they said you, as in, he says we're only going after criminals. They think that he's going after somebody else. Meanwhile, the Republican Party, the Trump campaign, people like Stephen Miller, they believe that being undocumented means you are a criminal.
Right. And they don't understand that. I want to talk about a couple of the picks that, as you said, people may not have saw coming. Matt Gaetz, you've had to deal with him as a member of Congress. How concerned are you about him being Attorney General?
I think
You think it'll come out, the ethics report?
Well, I think there's a large jurisdiction. I don't know if the Ethics Committee has a legal grounds now to release it.
Yeah.
I do wonder if the Senate would subpoena it in order to understand and make a full,
Let's watch some Trump
have
news,
a fully
bro,
informed
I think it's
decision.
okay for you guys to get informed. Some of y'all to get informed on this nigga. Why? Oh my God, bro.
Dear Dr.
Trump
K,
is trying to
I used to
divide
think
us.
I was never meant to be beautiful. You work within my...
Yesterday, President Trump continued his campaign to undermine Canada. For the second time in a matter of days, he sat in his Oval Office and mused about tariffs on Canada. He says they're coming tomorrow.
Dang.
I wish Canada wasn't in this position. I wish we were working together to make Canada and the United States the richest, most successful, safest, and most secure two countries on the planet. But nobody's ever solved a problem by wishing it away. We have to play the hand we're dealt. If tariffs do in fact come tomorrow, the federal government needs to be ready to immediately implement a strong and forceful response. Dollar for dollar, tariff for tariff. The federal government has my full support to hit back and hit back hard.
I don't give a damn about this shit, bro. Trump goes too far. Zeal to damn. So Trump speaks out. The Weekend host and condemns the Daily DC. Joe Rogan. Let's see. We treated President Trump like shit. Stop crying over Trump's withdrawal of foreign aids. Trump's admits FBI purge. Trump's first 100 days. All right, bet. Let's find one. We gonna find one real quick. I just want to see somebody talking shit. Let's see. Sounds off on press for lying about Trump's funding memo. Damn, I just want to find one. That nigga Trump funny as shit though. Trump news. I guess it ain't that shit. They tryna Trump debate. Let's look at the debates, bro. Cause these debates be funny between these niggas, bro. Can we watch this? Can we watch this without getting taken down? I don't think we can. I don't know if we can watch that. Can we watch this? I don't know if we can. Fuck it.
So let's be very clear. Respectfully, are you a trans person?
I'm not.
So you're taking up space where I believe a trans woman should be here talking to me, to be quite honest, because I feel like we as trans women need to be having these conversations with each other. And respectfully, you're taking up a space that should belong to a trans woman. And trans woman erasure is very real because you're participating in it right now.
Welcome to part 1 of the special episode of Middle Ground, which is also the biggest middle ground we've ever done. How can the U.S. government strengthen our economy?
We're going to get in
All right, we're going to start
one.
with the Democratic side. You have 5 minutes to select a representative that you think best represents your side's perspective on this issue. And they will go forward and they will debate a representative on this side in the middle.
Yeah, so I have an economics degree and I debate this for 6 hours every single day. It's kind of my specialty, so I would recommend putting me up there to be able
this nigga, bro.
Go against them on the data statistics. And
him and his little powerful squad, them niggas annoying and shit, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro.
Make arguments because they're very weak on them. Very, very weak, and it needs to be called out.
Hi, I am not a capitalist. I'm a Marxist.
Let's skip this shit, bro.
Signed into law. So if we're going to talk about the effect in terms of spending as it relates to the economy, Trump had a worse effect on inflation if you're referencing that. Secondly, Trump's proposed policy in terms of tariffs would absolutely cause inflation. Economists on the left wing and the right wing agree on this. This is vast across the board, almost a consensus in economics.
What would you target as the direct point of beginning when all this inflation kicked off? Would you connect it to COVID-19?
Yeah, the effect on supply chains.
Okay, and are there any specific Trump administration policies you say, or you mentioned spending? Tell me a bit more about this. I want to hear it.
Yeah, so I don't typically refer to like the level of spending, but if people do reference spending, I do think that it looks worse for Trump. In terms of the overall inflation rate, I think it has to be something that happened globally. You can't just say something that only happened in the United States is the explanation for global inflation when the same trend happened in Africa, Asia, South America, Central America, Europe, everywhere.
But what we have known for decades is that the United States is the global superpower, particularly for the economy. I mean, we spoke about it a little before, that China is starting to rise in this, and that there's a lot going on in 2020 between China and the United States. Would it be not ridiculous to say that COVID-19 between China and the United States had a big impact on inflation, and then we had the changing of the baton between the Trump administration and the Biden administration, and we had the Inflation Reduction Act come in when the inflation was starting to go up, and we saw it almost multiply after that? Wouldn't you say that there's any connection there?
No, actually, when the Inflation Reduction Act was signed, like a bit after inflation started to come down, I'm not saying it's because of the Inflation Reduction Act. I actually think the Inflation Reduction Act had a marginal effect on inflation. Reports typically say around 0.1% reduction.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. I don't be giving a shit what this nigga be talking about, bro. This nigga and his Ken Doll squad be annoying and shit. First of all, I don't even give a damn about politics. If you follow that shit, you're a sheep. None of the sides give a fuck about you. But this nigga be annoying me, bro. He be popping on my shit. I be like, bro, shut the fuck up, bro. Like, god damn, bro.
Right, in the long term, which the main point of it was...
I don't give a fuck about Republicans or Democrats, but this nigga just be annoying me.
Like foreign energy, right? Because it is the case that if we build up our production of energy in the United States, we're less dependent on foreign oil, so we don't rely on that. Also, it was deficit reducing. To say that that was the cause of inflation is utterly
just be going on and on and on and on and on. God damn.
Okay, well, let's talk about energy. In January of 2021, Joe Biden got into office and he campaigned almost confusingly so. One day for fracking, one day against fracking, one day for energy independence, the next day against energy independence. We saw him get into office and sign numerous executive orders that forbade fracking on federal land, almost forbade us to actually have any of that energy independence.
President Trump did not.
Thus making us more reliant on countries in the Middle East for their oil, thus making us more reliant on
who they fact checking. Oh, you know. I was on a rant.
China for some of their manufacturing. Why would these things not be factors that would multiply
Let's
the
get on to the juicy parts because they're gonna ban me soon for this shit. And this shit lasted this long.
Will offer, and I will agree on that. We need more
systematic racism still an issue in the U.S. We're gonna go to the Democrats first to choose their speaker.
Yeah, I think I would like to talk on this topic because I come from Nigeria, where the majority of the people there look like me.
Where you came from, Harry?
In America is a very easy life. So I would love to speak on this topic. It's what I do for a living. Businesses and opportunities in Black predominant areas. So when we talk about why we're still struggling, that has a big reason because we're losing our opportunities.
Yeah. I would just like to say that I empathize on every position that you have that you explained to me, especially when talking about people calling you names, people saying really mean and nasty things to you, demeaning you because of your race, I would argue. I experienced that as a Black conservative, and it was the hardest part of being a Black conservative. But I don't understand how you can have this perspective as a Black man in America that there is no racial tension and no racial discrimination when we as Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die giving birth, when Black men are twice as likely to be killed on death row than white men for committing similar crimes, when you have the Hopi Nation of people who don't have clean water to drink. There's a diabetes epidemic because there is no clean, accessible water that they are able to afford. I don't understand how you can have these positions that there is no racial disparities and that these things weren't set up against us when there is so much going against us in this country. I would say as a woman who has experienced police violence, I was pregnant when I experienced police violence. I told them I was pregnant and they still mishandled me. They did not see me as a citizen. They did not see me as some.
I wonder what they got her ass for.
Serve and protect. And by the way, there is no constitutional basis for serve and protect. They are not constitutionally obligated to serve and protect you. I just want to tell you this. I told them I was pregnant. And
just clapping this shit like it's supposed, like this she just spit a poetry or something.
Still mishandled me. They didn't see me as somebody to protect. They saw me as a. That's what they saw.
What the fuck? I wonder what she got locked up for. I mean, I wonder what they got her ass for, because this shit is like, goddamn.
Meaning you because of your race, I would argue. I experienced that as a Black conservative, and it was the hardest part of being a Black conservative. But I don't understand how you can have this perspective as a Black man in America that there is no racial tension and no racial discrimination when we as Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die giving birth. Black men are twice as likely to be killed on death row than white men for committing similar crimes. When you have the Hopi Nation of people who don't have clean water to drink, there's a diabetes epidemic because there is no clean, accessible water that they are able to afford. I don't understand how you can have these positions that there is no racial disparities and that these things weren't set up against us when there is so much going against us in this country. I would say as a woman who has experienced police violence, I was pregnant when I experienced police violence. I told them I was pregnant and they still mishandled.
What y'all think she did for the police to come and get her? What y'all think she did? I actually have no clue what she could have did for them to come get her, but what do y'all think she did?
They did not see me as a citizen. They did not see me as somebody to serve and protect. And by the way, there is no
they don't see you. When you commit a crime, they don't see you as a citizen.
Constitutional basis for serve and protect. Criminal. They are not constitutionally obligated to serve and protect you. I just want to tell you this. I told them I was pregnant and they still mishandled me. They didn't see me as somebody to protect. They saw me as a. That's what they saw.
So a lot to unpack with that, and I'm truly sorry that happened to you. I think one thing to start with the middle ground that we.
This nigga don't give a fuck what happened to her. Honestly, nobody gives a fuck. But this nigga, I know he don't give a fuck. He just saying that, but
agree on is that, or two things really, is that there is still racial tension. Now, if that's a systemic thing, I wouldn't say. Are you going to encounter racist people? Absolutely. Are you going to encounter racist people in positions of power? Unfortunately, absolutely. That's a very real thing. And I do think when it comes to the criminal justice system, even Black conservatives, look at the Blexit movement. One of the biggest things that the Blexit movement, which stands for Black Exit, exiting the left, is criminal justice reform. So with that being said, I empathize with what you're saying and I understand your perspective there. But that being said, when it comes to systemic racism, that would infer that there's this whole system that is holding you down because you're a Black woman.
But there is.
But here's the thing: is there's not. There's over 2 million Black millionaires in America. Black women are outpacing in education in so many different metrics compared to every single demographic. I mean, just look at yourself. I mean, just hearing you sound very educated. You can't have all of these different success and be self-made in a country that is oppressive to you because of your skin color. We've seen what that looks like in the past, and that is just not the situation that we're in anymore. Because as I look at you as a Black woman, there is not a single thing that this white man, no shade, can do that you can't do. You are capable.
I would like to disagree with you because I think that all throughout American history, we have had Black people, we have had indigenous people, we have Chicano people.
Bro, what this nigga just said was facts, bro. How was you gonna go against it, bro? You have the same privilege as that white man, bro. Come on, bro. This shit's crazy.
People of all races and colors that have beat
these niggas just be wanting to argue just to argue, bro. And again, I want to preface, I don't give a fuck about the Republican side or the Democrat side. If you follow it, you're a sheep. But this shit just be like, God damn.
Odds, but that does not mean that those odds are not there. That does not mean that those odds are not there. A lot of people on the conservative side like to say like, oh, well, you have all the same legal rights and responsibilities that I have. There's no law against you as a Black person.
Correct.
The law is not an entity in and of itself. Law is a social construct. We enact laws in everything that we do every day of our life. And the way that people enact laws is what affects these disparities, what allows Black men to be imprisoned for the same drugs that white men are doing, what allows Black women to be dying on operating tables, giving the same birth to the same babies that white women are giving. And so I think that if we're talking about America in and of itself, why are we having these discussions about Ahmaud Arbery? Why are we having these discussions about Breonna Taylor? Why are we having these discussions about Frank Tyson, who was killed in my hometown because they kneeled on his chest? He was dying and he begged them to help him and they said, shut the F up. And he died there under their knee.
So a couple quick things with that. So with some of the issues you were talking about, such as Black women dying on the operating table, unfortunately what that is, that's a socioeconomic issue. And I feel like what a lot of people attribute to being an issue that has to do with systemic racism is really socioeconomic, because you don't see wealthier Black people having those issues at the same rate. If it was a systemic racism issue, it would have to do with race, not to do with wealth. And then when we look at situations like some of the names you said, let's start with Breonna Taylor. The way that the media lies to Black people to gaslight us into thinking that we need to be terrified of police officers is absolutely unacceptable. If you really look into the tea that happened with Breonna Taylor, we were lied about. They lied to us about that whole situation.
I ain't gonna lie, nigga low-key spitting facts. I am not scared of no police officers. The only reason I am is because my tags are expired. So when I be driving, my tags are expired. So I be low-key scared. But if I was moving clean, police officers do not scare me. And I've been through plenty of interactions. I'm talking about 10 plus interactions with police officers, white police officers. They've been really respectful. And the news paints them, you know, what he's saying, the news paints them as monsters. Police officers are not monsters. There are some, just like there's some monsters in every single field. But, I mean, this nigga's big a fact. He's big a fact. Again, I don't care about Democrats or Republicans.
About the Tatum report, that one.
I'm talking about all of it.
I don't care.
I'm talking about the whole system. I don't need to look at what Brandon Tatum has to say about it, but I think he had a lot of intelligence thing to say about it. Because if you go and you look at the actual facts of what happened with Breonna Taylor, she was knee deep in that criminal investigation. That being said, with the reason I bring that up, because I'm not saying that her dying.
That's disgusting. They took my shit down.